In the midst of an imaginary world succumbed to the waters of fate, a doubt arises as to whether fate is truly reliable. It is something that can lead someone to different endings with different choices. However, there are also those who believe that no matter the choice made, in the end, the individual will always be led to the same conclusion as a presumed life trajectory. One day in this world, monsters invaded the land, and the population began to fall into unimaginable chaos, causing even some citizens to lose hope. While some succumbed to the ground in fear, others ran, pleading for their lives in the face of the strange beings that came to bring torment to the earth. However, on a certain day during their escape, a group of humans realized they were in a dead end when they encountered a cliff. In this situation, everyone tried to hide, but in such a flat place, there were not many spots for humans to conceal themselves from the monster. As a result, they hid behind some rocks that paved the plain, and one of the girls cried in despair, praying to the heavens that the creature would not find her. Yet at the moment when one of her tears fell onto her chest, the terrible monster appeared in front of her, having been guided by the tiny noise. In her final moments, the girl begged for mercy, but the being she was conversing with was not a normal human with empathy to stop its actions. Thus, the monster did what was in its nature, and hidden behind another rock, a boy with green eyes questioned if this was the Phantom Star. He realized that the beginner tests were quite difficult, and thought he had to survive for 5 minutes to complete the job change. However, considering that there were only ordinary people in this place, he believed they wouldn't survive even for a minute. The boy's name is John Kai, and particularly now, he was participating in a beginner's test on this planet called Phantom Star. Phantom Star is a giant star that suddenly appeared near the Earth's region 50 years ago. However, the appearance of Phantom Star unexpectedly did not cause any gravitational disaster on Earth that could make it lose its orbit. Nonetheless, after its appearance, the animals and plants on Earth suddenly transformed into monsters called celestial monsters, causing havoc worldwide. Celestial monsters are beings that current human technology cannot resist, and their emergence plunged the human race into a state of helplessness. However, during this period of fear, some surviving humans discovered that various teleportation matrices began to appear on Earth. As soon as humans passed through the redirection matrix, they were teleported to Phantom Star in digital form. But when people arrived on Phantom Star, they discovered it seemed to be a virtual world of intense hyper-realism. In this place, humans could change their jobs to various professions, and everyone gained some value along with equipment and skills. All of this could be evolved like a game character to obtain powerful attributes. After a while, they discovered that after evolving to a certain level in the digital world, a person could bring this surreal power back to Earth. Thus, people in the real world became as powerful as on Phantom Star, even able to physically fight against celestial monsters. In summary, if the current human race wishes to overcome this desperate situation and survive, they need to gain power through Phantom Star. These people who go to the other world in search of power are called explorers, and the protagonist is among them, but in a very complicated moment. Facing the massacre the test monster was conducting, Jang began to lose hope as now he was the only one alive. Looking around, he realized in front of the abyss that there was no possibility of escape. At this moment, the monster headed towards the last refuge to finish off the remaining human, so the hero began to lament for deceiving his family. He remembered that when he decided to enter this place, his sister supported him, telling him not to worry as his siblings would take care of the expenses. The boy's sister was a girl who suffered greatly at a young age just to help him reach Phantom Star, and his older brother is still trying hard despite suffering from kidney failure, which would worsen if he couldn't achieve the value needed for surgery. However, there is Jiang in a position where he was not only unable to complete the job transfer but also spent all his family's money to die. Amidst this tremendous amount of lamentation, just as the monster was about to finish him off, the boy decided to still fight for his life. He starts to run, thinking that instead of sitting and waiting for his death, he will risk everything for the sake of his family. Fortunately, he manages to escape the fatal blow, but it still hits his shoulder, and now the hero is determined to seize the only chance he has to survive. With this, Jang makes a cruel decision and jumps off the cliff, knowing that the probability of surviving is higher than facing that monster. At this moment, however, a notification sound is heard, and before the protagonist's eyes, a window opens commenting on his behavior. Being something very consistent with the player's behavior, the message congratulates the hero for triggering the 1 in a million chance of obtaining a hidden career. Finally, the secret profession message appears, informing that the transfer was successfully completed and that the protagonist obtained an honorable hidden profession. After a long fall, the hero finally lands on the ground and luckily survives because his fall was cushioned by some trees along the way. Shortly after, the protagonist wakes up, questioning what happened next to a river whose current flows south. He wonders why he is not injured even after jumping off a cliff, and understands that the injuries previously sustained were all healed. At this moment, the system appears, opening a rift in space-time before the boy's eyes. The system appears in the form of a beautiful girl and informs that since the job transfer was successful, his basic attributes will be updated. In the end, this was equivalent to being resurrected with full health, so Jiang decided to ask if the girl was the brain of the artificial intelligence that exists in the place. However, the girl merely lists the player's new talents, starting with a double talent that doubles any reward or punishment. There is also a 1% chance of triggering a super double effect, increasing rewards and punishments by 10 times. With this, it is said that since the hero activated the talent at the same moment he gained it, he will get another, leaving the protagonist quite enthusiastic. Thus, Jiang's secondary talent effect appears, being the super critical, which increases damage by 200 times but with only a 1% hit rate. After having an overview of his status window, the hero realizes that his 4 basic attributes total 36 points. He comments that the total attributes of a normal person after the job change are usually around 20, so it is said that this is due to the double talent. Thus, the protagonist understands that when evolving on the Phantom Star, he will receive for each level the equivalent of 2 people's evolution. Additionally, he also has the second talent, Super Critical, which differs greatly from a normal person's critical punch that only achieves a 2-fold multiplication. Even with only a 1% chance of hitting, if Jiang can increase his critical rate, the damage caused by the skill in the future will be terrifying. After analyzing his situation, the hero looks ahead and notices a weapon typically used by monsters stuck in the river. Initially, Jiang's plan was to change class and go to Earth to make money because no matter how weak it was, it would still bring some money. However, he did not expect to accidentally trigger an additional job transfer judgment, thus becoming a powerful hidden player. Thinking about it, Jiang believes that perhaps he can quickly reach the value needed for his older brother's surgery expenses and thus provide good conditions for his family. However, he knows that completing the job transfer in the beginner test is just the first step, with other challenges ahead. For example, the biggest goal for every beginner is to complete the first test, which involves reaching the city of Shenzhou in just 7 days. It is known that this will be a very difficult mission to complete because the test area is filled with monsters, and in case of death, he will be teleported to Earth. It is said that even if a person dies on Phantom Star, they will not suffer any damage on Earth and can re-enter the place after some time. However, this is only something manageable for the rich, as entering the star requires a lot of money, leaving the hero without a second chance. Then, with a terrifying noise coming from the end of the forest, the hero's first challenge with his new abilities presents itself. It hides behind a tree, understanding that this cry is quite familiar. At the same time, a huge serpent appears, attacking a man who is defending himself with his eyes closed in fear, throwing punches wrapped in a mysterious energy. This is Jiang Kai's longtime friend Yuan Zhu, who, despite seemingly having a powerful ability, is still afraid to fight against the monsters. From behind the tree, the protagonist realizes that the person being attacked by the land snakes is his friend and thinks that they are highly poisonous. Knowing that a single bite is enough to kill a person, he shouts to his friend not to be afraid and heroically appears at the scene to save him. In response to his old friend's appearance on the battlefield, Yuan questions why the hero is there. Given his situation, he continues to cry and begs Jiang to leave because the snakes have very high attributes and are extremely poisonous. It is said that beginners like them have no chance against the snakes. However, at this moment, the protagonist throws his weapon, piercing one of them with precision and killing it. This leaves the boy very surprised by his old friend managing to kill one of the land snakes. However, this was as the hero thought, because before leaving, he had planned to use his acquaintance as a distraction for the snakes and attack them from behind. Following their instincts, the snakes show their fangs and move toward the boy to devour him completely. Jiang's friend, however, shouts to his colleague, warning that the snakes have much higher agility than normal humans. Nevertheless, the hero easily dodges all the snake attacks, demonstrating all his agility acquired after the system update. With this, Yuan is even more impressed by his friend's ability to dodge at high speed. The hero, for his part, knows that his attributes were multiplied after the job change, being equivalent to a level 2 person, which surpasses the level 1 snakes. In this case, the protagonist holds his weapon tightly and tells his friend to keep attracting the snake's attention. Finally, after much struggle, Yuan is disbelieving because he only distracted the snakes for a moment and soon all were killed. Jiang, on the other hand, looks at the system window, thinking that his profession should be of low strength and high agility, but he can also deal damage. In the end, he believes that the iron spear he took from the human-faced monster could be a really good piece of equipment to increase his strength in the beginner area. With the fight over, Yuan appears, hugging his friend with all of his strength and praising him for the strength he showed in combat, even as a beginner. In response, the protagonist pushes him away, saying that he was just lucky to have completed his job change and obtained the player profession. Yuan doesn't quite understand what that means, but explains that his profession is also not bad, being a martial artist. In this case, it's no surprise that the boy held out for so long, considering that this profession is ranked 5th in the Divine Glory realm. Regarding how many professions exist on Phantom Star, no one knows, but the first thing every explorer has to go through after entering is the job change. As for the type of profession received, it depends on the job change material the person buys before logging into the virtual world. Usually, the rich spend millions to buy good job change material, so they get a strong profession when they arrive. Among the various quality professions are martial artist, paladin, and assassin. In contrast, the poor can only buy the cheapest job change materials, receiving extremely weak professions such as drunkard or beggar. Changing the subject, the hero asks if his friend went to a loan shark to get that profession, but Yuan avoids the question, saying he'll tell the story later. On Phantom Star, anyone can exchange the loot they get for money, and the hero plans to help his family with the money he earns in this world. In this case, they plan to take the carcass of the defeated snakes because regarding items from Phantom Star, such as remains and equipment, they turn into cards that can then be exchanged or sold in the system market. Based on the recent fight, it seems the player profession is much stronger than the martial artist profession, which is already well rated in the overall ranking. Suddenly, a girl seems lost in the middle of the forest, making the hero curious and Yuan extremely frightened. Despite being in a hostile place, this person was a simple girl who introduces herself as Su Ai and asks to join the group to increase their chances. Jiang, however, refuses, stating that they do not even know if they can survive alone, which would become even more difficult if they decided to bring another person along. However, Su begs not to be left alone and explains that her profession is that of a healer, which could certainly help in some way. Almost crying, she explains that if the heroes encounter poisonous snakes again, she will be able to extract the venom to strengthen their weapons. In this case, the situation is now a bit different because the healer class is also one of the top 10 high-level professions. Recalling what he has already been through, Jiang believes they will depend greatly on healing the beginner stage, considering that if he hadn't received help from the system, he would already be dead. After some consideration, the protagonist concludes that he will include her in his group, and the two introduce themselves. However, his friend whispers in Jiang's ear that he only changed his mind because he wants to flirt with the girl, which makes the hero quite uncomfortable. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the Divine Glory Kingdom in the city of Jiangzhong, the great base of the Phantom Star Portal number 18 is active. In the data research laboratory, a scientist states that today's wristwatches are incredible because they can locate explorers precisely. A girl appears, agreeing and saying that most wristwatches on the market can be used to detect all the data on Phantom Star. It is said that the better the watch, the more functions it will have, and the girl named Su Lanlin asks the professor how the newbies and her younger sister are doing. Based on the GPS location of the beginner's watches, most have been eliminated. However, the little one has formed a team with 2 people. This information only made the girl impressed by her sister's cowardice because she had specifically reminded her not to join others in this area. This is because in a balancing system, the larger the number of people who gather in the test area, the higher the probability of attracting monsters. 3 minutes after that conversation, while looking at the computer screen, the scientist informed anxiously that 2 human-faced monsters were detected. With that, Lanlin began to fear because a human-faced monster can destroy all the newbies, and she knows her sister wouldn't have any chance of winning. Death on Phantom Star is only equivalent to the death of their characters in the game, not causing physical harm to the body on Earth. However, the experience of death is very real and causes great psychological damage to people because some of them were devoured by monsters piece by piece. Knowing this, she realizes that unfortunately, in the upcoming events, she will have to take her sister for psychological counseling. However, the scientist interjects saying that the girl has not died yet, which leaves her sister surprised. Unexpectedly, in addition to no one dying, the scientist reports that both human-faced monsters were killed all at once. Going back 3 minutes in a virtual world, the monsters started running after the main group ready to carry out a massacre. Seeing this, everyone began to run desperately for their lives, knowing that these monsters could not be defeated. The hero, however, looked back and understood that his 2 companions were not as agile as he was and that if things continued like this, they would be caught. He then told Yu and Zhu to go ahead while he would hold the monster for the 2, which made his friend desperate. Despite his concerns, the hero was determined that he could handle it, thinking that everyone would die if they continued to be chased. In this case, all he could do was stay and try to fight the monsters one-on-one. Thus, the protagonist promptly uses his weapon to pierce one of the monsters with a precise strike to its chest, making it groan in pain. This made the boy very happy, thinking he had succeeded, but a hand quickly came towards him and threw him far until he was stopped by a large rock. With this, he understands that the human-faced monster seems to have a lot of resistance, making it impossible to kill it with just one attack to a vital point. In his final moments, Jiang believes that unfortunately he will be killed in the beginner test, reaching the end of his life. In view of this, the girl starts crying and calls Yuan to join in helping the group leader. However, he is completely paralyzed. In the residential area of Central River City, a woman greets a man with tea, asking if he is the benefactor who provided the materials for her son. She explains that she does not know why the man is so optimistic about the boy, as despite being big and strong, he is still quite shy. Finally, she says she believes that if her son encounters a monster on Phantom Star, he will surely run away. In this case, the man serves himself a cup and confirms the mother's intuitions about the boy's fearful nature when facing apparent danger. However, he says he has noticed that no matter how scared Yuan gets, when he sees someone in need of help, he never fails to assist. Thus, with a shout that released all the attention of his soul, the boy charged the 2 monsters, using his martial skills. Even trembling, Yuan questioned whether his friend decided to protect him just because he thought he was a coward. With this, he envelops his fist with a powerful aura and asserts that they are brothers, and as brothers, they must always walk together. Thus, the boy advances towards the monsters with great determination, saying that if they are going to die, they will die together. In an act of determination never before seen in his actions, the boy advances and delivers a powerful punch to the center of the human-faced monster's body. With this, Jiang wonders if his friend is really capable of defeating such an enemy with just one attack. He then understands that even if the damage caused is very low, the control power of a martial artist is truly impressive and worthy of the position it holds. Not only did the boy start helping in this battle, but also Su, who began to heal the hero's wounds caused by the aberrations. In view of this, the protagonist questioned what the girl was doing there since she does not have a combat profession. Embarrassed, she affirmed that she would not leave alone because a healer has to heal the wounded no matter how scared she is to leave. Her father was previously killed during the battle against the wave of monsters, dying fighting non-stop due to the lack of support from healers in the area. Given this, now that her teammates also need support, she definitely does not want to make the same mistake of the past and run away. After a few moments of using her ability, the hero realizes that his body is being completely healed. He then stands up, excited with a smile on his face, and praises the girl for having no fear of death. However, she thinks that despite the three fighting together, the damage is still not enough to kill even one human-faced monster. At this moment, the protagonist remembers what the girl said about being able to extract the snake's venom to increase the weapon's attack power. He recalls this statement to the girl and retrieves the monster's carcass, asking if she can heal his friend and add venom to his weapon at the same time. With this order, she says she doesn't know if she can do it, but assures that she will try her best. Although unlikely, the hero understands that this is the only way they can win the battle if they succeed. Unlike the protagonist who cannot withstand the human-faced monster's attacks, Yun can due to his martial proficiency. And though his attack is not enough to kill those aberrations, Su Ai is a healer who can enhance his attack with her buff ability. Looking at it this way, the three are clearly a standard combat combination of shield, heal, and damage in the virtual world. Finally, after a long period of enchantment, the venom extraction is complete, coating the tip of Zhang's weapon with the snake's venom. With this, the hero heads towards the monsters, knowing that a novice's offensive power is quite low. On his way, he asks his friend to control one of the human-faced monsters so he can attack, which is quickly understood. Yuan, for his part, continues his job as the group's shield, and the hero now knows that as long as the three work together as a true team, and if each one fulfills their duties in harmony with the other group members, even a human-faced monster, known as a novice killer, can be hunted by a group of novices. With that, the protagonist once again leaps towards the monster, but now with his enhanced weapon, he lands a vital blow that finishes the creature once and for all. The impact generates a powerful explosion in the forest, causing the sound to echo throughout the area. Then, the system informs the boy that he has killed a level 2 human-faced monster. Unexpectedly, the other group members realize that their combined attack really worked, and thus, happiness along with surprise blossoms. In view of the death of its companion, the mutant human-faced monster trembles in fear, thinking that this fate could repeat. Prepared for combat alongside the main group, Zhang thinks that teamwork really works even though there is another monster to duel. Despite being afraid, the enemy advances, fighting by its most primitive instincts. However, the combat formation goes into effect with excellence. Back in the scientist's monitoring room, the boy's sister is indignant because, according to the Watch's data, the novices killed 2 human-faced monsters. A single one of these creatures can massacre an entire group of novices, so the scientist notes that according to the Watch, Su Ai still doesn't have the skills to kill one. Furthermore, it is said that the explorers in her team are also weak in terms of damage, since they are level 1. Thus, they understand that the killer can only be explorer Jiang Kai, who is in the girl's team. However, they notice that his occupation cannot be seen. In this case, Su Lanlin believes this cannot be possible and thinks that someone capable of killing 2 human-faced monsters must have an incredible profession. She wonders what kind of man he is, and back on Phantom Star, the system informs the player that the monsters' corpses can be collected. With that, everyone throws themselves to the ground, extremely exhausted from the battle that just ended. Among the group members, Yuan praises his friend for his cleverness, and the girl comments that now that they have the strength to fight against human-faced monsters, they should be able to finish the tests safely. However, after being rushed to finish the test, the hero explains there is no reason because there is still plenty of time to reach the final destination, the city of Shengjiao. He asks his group to take it easy and relax a bit, leaving them quite confused. To explain himself, he asks them not to worry and explains that the points are calculated after finishing the test. In this case, prizes are given to the top-ranked, and it is said that the equipment granted by the military is very good and greatly helps novices. Given this, Zhang says that now that they can kill monsters and consequently trade for points, they should seek the chance to be among the first. With that, he asks if his friends like the idea of killing more monsters to accumulate more points and ultimately receive the best rewards. Initially, this proposal leaves the two a bit confused, but a few hours later, Yuan is serving as bait in the forest and complains about the fear he is feeling. Faced with so many snakes around him, he almost cries, questioning if he will be the first to die. Then, from atop a tree in a kind of ambush, the hero tells his friend to be braver given that he is a martial artist who can fight and resist. And in another tree, he asserts that they also have Ai in the group, a healer who can provide support at any moment. With that, when the snakes advance to attack, the protagonist charges towards them to help his friend, saying that dying will not be that easy. Thus, the system announced that Jang killed 3 level 1 land snakes, increasing his current experience to 10 points out of a requirement of 100. He quickly thinks that upon reading the Phantom Star rules, it states that only the one who kills can gain the experience from their prey. And since the hero is currently the only one capable of killing monsters, they decided to let him gain all the experience first. His group decided to let him level up first, which will be of great benefit. This is because as he advances, he can guarantee his team's safety with increasing ease. One day later, the warriors continue to fight until the next nightfall, and the system congratulated the explorer for reaching level 2 and doubling his gains. Thus, he was happy to understand that after killing land snakes for just 1 day, he had already reached level 2. With that, the girl congratulates Jiang on his progress, and his friend asks what attributes change after the level up. In this case, the protagonist states that he gained 20 attribute points, currently having 56 attributes. He acknowledges that it's not much. However, this is enough to leave the two completely shocked and jaw-dropped, as this amount is not normal. With this, Yuan says that he knows leveling up increases strength along with physical, agility, and mental power, but normal people only receive 10 attribute points. Thus, he questions how the hero has 20. Additionally, Ai, who only has 12 points, comments that 56 points is equivalent to a level 4 explorer. To explain, Jiang states that this is a characteristic of his profession, which can double rewards like upgrades, but punishments can also be doubled. Even without understanding, the girl feels that this is a very powerful profession, and Yuan feels disappointed because, compared to him, his class no longer seems so impressive. At that moment, suddenly as a rift opens in space-time, the girl representing the system appears, informing that at level 2, players gain an ability. However, due to the hero's talent, he will receive 2 of them, which makes him happy, realizing that he will now have 2 profession skills. In this case, the protagonist's friend is impressed because the skills demonstrated by the boy are incredible to be true. The system explains that the first ability is called Phantom Hand Flying Cards, which causes a 20% penetration effect when thrown. If the item is a card, the penetration increases by 200%, but the consumption of mental power increases by 100%. Additionally, the second ability is Phantom Eye. The visual range and tracking ability are increased by 50%. Furthermore, the mental power consumption during use increases by 100% and can be improved. These are 2 long-range abilities, and even without knowing how to use them, the hero believes that the player profession is a ranged attack, which will be suitable. Therefore, being stronger, the boy calls his group to farm monsters with more experience points, and Yuan starts to feel a bit jealous. 2 days later, in the scientist's monitoring room, their chief explains to the instructor that even after 2 days, her sister is still alive. With this, Lanlin comments that the novice team's survival indicates that Jiang is a boy who still has a lot of strength left. However, suddenly some people enter the room, and a guard informs everyone in the novice area that the test will become more dangerous from now on. It is said that the superiors detected that Country L sent invaders to invade the novice area of their country this time, which becomes a rare large-scale invasion. Then the Supreme Commander of the Central River City District, Wei Ying, appears, stating that they must hurry and prepare for the situation. Lanlin, a bit anxious, questions her superior if a mass invasion will really happen. He confirms that even if the information proves false in the future, they will continue without lowering their guard. The information frightens the girl because knowing that the invaders are a group of people from Country L specializing in killing novices from other countries to hinder development. This is because the Phantom Star novice test rules state that advanced players cannot enter the area to help them, so they have to pass alone. However, in Country L, there is an exclusive profession that allows native players to interfere in the game. They can exploit the invaders' characteristic to infiltrate novice areas of other countries without suffering a counterattack. Furthermore, the invaders ensure to be as cruel as possible with novices from other countries, giving them horrible deaths. With this, they traumatize them, preventing them from entering the site again and thus significantly reducing the number of new foreign players. Given this, the girl slams her fist on the table, angry, and says that her sister's resistance is very poor to defend against these damned invaders. In this case, Wei Ying asks for the psychological support preparations for the novices since the large invasion has already begun. Thus, for this novice test, everyone starts to accept that there will be no survivors. Back on Phantom Star, the main group walks casually through the forest, searching for new adversaries to increase their experience. However, at this moment, the hero senses something in the bushes and looking back raises his weapon, stating there is something hidden. In view of this, Yuan questions what his colleague is saying since they had already passed through this location before and concluded there was nothing there. Then Jiang, with a serious expression, asserts that the area where enemies exist is in a more distant region. With that, after preparing, he throws his spear with all his might towards the spot where he sensed suspicious movements. Following this, after the spear travels a long distance, it passes through, destroying everything and finally seems to have hit its target. In view of this, the protagonist explains to his colleagues that he hit something and runs, calling them to take a look. Thus, Yuan asserts that they haven't reached anything and starts to think that his friend is going crazy, but they inevitably follow the group leader through the forest. Even in the middle of the night with little light, the hero hit and killed a level 2 short-spine wild boar with ease. In this case, Yuan is very surprised that the protagonist managed to hit and kill a level 2 wild boar from such a distance. Jiang, for his part, comments that no one needs to be scared because these were just his new abilities in use. After finishing off the animal, the system asks if the hero wishes to collect the wild boar's remains, as the spines can be used to craft weapons. Without wasting time, the protagonist accepts the proposal and thinks that currently the Phantom Throw ability has increased the damage of his throws. Additionally, the Phantom Eyes ability is basically a combination of slow motion and a telescope, allowing his attacks to have greater range and accuracy. Thus, Jiang tells his colleagues that he needs just one more experience point to reach level 3, so they need to find another place. At this moment, however, a person laughs from within the water, speaking to the leader of Team 2 that they surely are lucky. From the river waters, something starts to emerge and someone comments maliciously that they managed to get some snacks right after entering. Thus, the group of invaders emerges from the water, prepared to have fun with the corpses of the novices from the virtual world. Taking charge of the situation, the hero questions the players' identities and Ai becomes quite intimidated by these men's presence. In this case, one of the warriors tells those kids not to worry because they are not bad guys. Continuing, their leader with his weapon drawn states that they only want to skin the novices and then hang them to drain all their blood. Or perhaps, he says, it might be better to start by peeling the boys' skin and attracting the human-faced monsters to devour them to death. With this, another invader comes out of the water, stating that in any case, the superiors this time have only one goal in mind. Jiang looks frightened, but the man merely maintains his malevolent smile, exuding a dark aura. Thus, the leader of the Team 2 invaders concludes by saying that the superior's goal is to ensure that all novices from Glory City fail their tests. In view of this, the girl in the group recalls the identity of these men, being the invaders who come to Phantom Star to kill the novices. Inevitably, this realization left both the hero and his colleague extremely scared. Then Ai continues, saying she has detected that all the assassins are level 3 or higher, and the highest one is at level 5. At this moment, the hero begins to feel disheartened, seeing that even though the situation is bad due to having to face several warriors, there is still a level 5 among them. His current abilities can at best contend with a level 4 explorer. Thus, trying to face a level 5 will be like suicide, unless he can level up. Without further delay, the group leader calls his brothers to start the massacre with the novices. The hero quickly rushes to take the lead in the battle. He calls his colleagues to flee with him and asks them to form a team to separate for now. In view of this, the group leader mocks how quickly the novices run away when danger approaches and asks if everyone living in Shenyou City is so cowardly. Then the leader orders 2 of the assassins to go after the coward who escaped alone, explaining that the other 2 stayed for their troops. The warriors sent are level 3 and quickly start chasing the hero through the forest. Despite praising the boy for being very good at escaping, they get excited as they are now almost catching up to him. At that moment, the protagonist simply disappears from their sight, leaving them confused and lost in the forest. One of the assassins, considering that the boy wants to play hide and seek with them, smiles and says he will cut off the boy's feet when he finds him. Suddenly, from the bushes, the hero's weapon is launched at the most confident of the assassins. Upon seeing the blade, the assassin mocks the attempt to resist, believing he can defend against the novice's attack. However, the spear fatally hits his chest, sending him flying and leaving his companion completely surprised. The force of the throw causes the man to be launched continuously between the trees, destroying everything in his path. The other assassin questions why his companion flew off and, upon asking if he is okay, realizes that the assassin is dead. Thus, the hero reveals himself from behind the trees and, having achieved victory, mocks by questioning if this is all the power of an invader. Holding 3 more projectiles between his fingers, he asserts that the man doesn't seem as strong as expected. In this case, the assassin activates his watch, recalling that the boy in front of him is a novice from Shenzhou and questions how he killed his level 3 companion. However, upon viewing the boy's attributes, he realizes that he is already much stronger, having 60 points despite being at level 2. Yet the protagonist is not willing to chat and mercilessly throws his blades at the assassin's body. With this, the assassin falls to his knees, groaning in pain before the man he was tasked with killing. With the fight over, Jiang thought everything went well because his attributes were equal to those of the level 4 explorer, easily finishing off a level 3 invader. In the end, the whole idea of splitting up was just a plan by the hero to attract a small number of enemies and kill them one by one. This is because the boy was still a bit below the experience needed to reach level 3. According to what he learned on Earth, if an explorer is killed, it's possible to take their watch and choose to loot their experience. The system informs that Jang killed 2 level 3 explorers, each providing 100 experience points. So the hero quickly accepts the proposal, asking the system to loot the bandits' experience. After stealing 100 points from each of the assassins, Jang finally reached level 3, being congratulated for his achievement. Having reached level 3, the explorer significantly increased his attributes, already halfway to leveling up again. Now his total attributes are 76 points, which is higher than the average for level 5, which is 60. With this, the boy loots the dead bandit's watch and retrieves his weapon embedded in the other's body, now having the strength to return and save his friends. Unlike the protagonist, who won his battles effortlessly, the secondary group was facing extreme difficulties. One of the assassins comments on the martial artist and the medic they found, saying he didn't expect to encounter main professions in a place like this. Upon encountering such quality careers and such innocent novices, they decide to torture them to death. While healing her groupmate with all her might, the girl desperately asks him if the group leader will be able to return. Despite being severely injured, Zhu tells the girl that he will definitely return, although he always flees when girls chase him. However, it's said that if his friends or family are in danger, no matter how desperate the situation is, he will definitely appear. At that moment, having finished their preliminaries, the assassins announce they will skin the young ones, but like a true hero, the protagonist appears from the forest. Without wasting time, he launches some of his wild boar spines, hitting several of the bandits and killing them instantly. Seeing this, Yuan is delighted, although in his mind he already knew his friend would come back to help. The leader of the enemy group, desperate, questions who is doing this, but obviously he gets no response. Even paying close attention, he cannot see where his target is, so he wonders if Shenjio managed to get a new profession that can enter the novice zone. In this case, the invader understands that he must run as fast as possible before his captor appears to finish him off. Seeing this, the girl in the group notices the captain of the invaders fleeing with his tail between his legs. Obviously, the hero wouldn't let that man escape after torturing his brother for several minutes without stopping, so he charged towards the assassin. Using all his power, he launched his spear, obtained from the human-faced monster, the man. The spear quickly hit the back of the invader's leader, making him groan in pain and subsequently fall face first to the ground, lifeless. With all the invaders killed, Jiang asks Ai if she's okay, making her realize that her comrade is indeed back. Unexpectedly, the girl wastes no time on banalities of reunion because at this exact moment, Yuan is gravely injured. Unfortunately, the group's healer informs that she can no longer heal him due to the severity of his wounds. In response, the boy coughed while speaking to his friend, saying he knew he would come back. However, he explains with melancholy that this time he won't be able to follow him and inevitably collapses to the ground. Lying on the ground with his last strength, the boy thanks them for the adventures they had together, saying it will become a great memory. As he starts closing his eyes, he asks them to continue alone, working hard to pass the judgment. Knowing part of the blame for her comrade's impending death is hers, the healer cries desperately for Yuan's life. In response, the protagonist calls his friend's name with a bowed head, but quickly throws one of the malefactors into the boy's lap. He informs them that he intentionally left 6 invaders crippled so that his colleagues could kill them and loot their levels, thus fully recovering their health. Hearing this, the girl remembers it's possible to gain experience and return to full health by killing explorers, and Yuan feels embarrassed for making such a scene in vain. The hero, knowing his battle brother was faking, smiles and informs the group they could avenge themselves on the assassins. At this moment, their lives are entirely in the hands of the group, who can show them what a good stay in heaven means. The malefactor, seeing his executioners, understands that what is about to happen will not be good. The group comments that what they will do is called karma, a traditional virtue that should be shown to visitors. Meanwhile, the Data Research Institute and the Stowaway Department in Country L is in complete chaos. One by one, all the bandits awaken after dying in the virtual world, recalling that a newcomer from Shenjiao killed them all brutally. In this case, a senior officer from the country asks what is happening with their invaders, considering that apparently the enemy city has a profession capable of countering them. At the same time, in the kingdom of Shenjiao, a scientist tells the instructor that the information they have is not good since Ai encountered the invaders. Upon receiving this information, Nanan enters into complete despair, knowing her sister is not ready for this. The Supreme Commander comments that, unfortunately, no newcomer has ever escaped the invaders, making it necessary to prepare psychological support. However, the scientist, somewhat awkwardly, says that's not what he meant. Looking at the big screen, he explains that according to the data, the girl not only survived after encountering the invaders, but also leveled up. This information left everyone in complete shock, not understanding what was happening. Analyzing the information, Wide questions how it is possible to level up even after encountering such formidable enemies. He speculates that the enemies help them hunt monsters, but the scientist quickly dismisses this possibility. Thus, the only option left is that the girl, along with the other members of her group, killed all the invaders. Given the improbability of this information, the commander drops his glass of water on the floor and stands up abruptly, startling the instructor. Without wasting time, he asks for Ai's team data to be shown as quickly as possible. The researcher swiftly opens the group's data, showing everyone's statistics and confirming that all reach at least level 3. In this case, the commander is excited, as it would be impossible to level up so quickly if the group hadn't killed the invaders. Lan, however, is still in doubt given that her sister has a healing profession and the martial artist doesn't cause much damage initially. With this, the only option left is that Jiang Kai killed them all. However, his level and occupation were still unknown to the military. Upon this conclusion, the scientist states that he discovered why the boy's information is unknown is due to the lack of a watch. Everyone who goes to Phantom Star needs one to check their information, but the one the boy uses is an old generation, one that no longer connects to the internet. A watch like this hasn't been maintained for over 10 years, leaving the instructor indignant about someone using such an old piece of original equipment. Despite the setback, Commander Wei finds the situation interesting and orders the researcher to gather all the real-life information about the boy for him. Back on Phantom Star, Yuan finds it incredible that this peculiarity of restoring his physical state to normal condition after leveling up. The girl is also quite impressed by her considerable increase in strength. Yuan, in turn, informs that he obtained the Earth Profession skill, now being able to attack nearby enemies. And Ai comments that she gained the doctor's heart in her profession skills, and now her healing power is much stronger. The protagonist believes everything is going as expected because the medical profession isn't very extravagant, being more practical in reality. In view of this, the protagonist's colleague asks him if he will now be able to finish off the invaders since he is currently a higher level than him. At that moment, the hero reveals he is already at level 4, surprising the boy greatly. They are shocked, not knowing how the boy reached level 4 so quickly, and realize that his total attribute is 96, equivalent to a level 8 explorer. In this case, the protagonist explains that when he was escaping, he killed the 2 malefactors who followed him, reaching level 3, and then the others when he returned. This leaves his childhood friend indignant that the group leader is still stronger than him, and the girl asks Jiang what they should do next. In response, the hero says he heard the captain say they were part of the second team of invaders, so now they must hunt down Group 1. Half a day later, in a forest somewhere in the beginner area, several enemy soldiers walked, laughing about the situation they were in. They comment among themselves about the information that Team 2 was eliminated by newcomers and mock, saying they should retire. However, the team captain asked the soldiers to keep their guard up because when the superior mentioned it, he was quite serious. Finally, they continue to walk, and one of them questions if there is really any reason to fear since the maximum level in this zone is 5, and their group is full of those. Meanwhile, hidden behind a tree trunk, the main group begins to prepare against 9 level 5 warriors. Despite the group's fear, the protagonist asks them not to be afraid because with his current attributes, even if he cannot kill them, he can still do some damage. Moreover, it's said that if they are left alone, they will attack others, so instead of defending passively, they need to attack. With that, the group captain notices a warrior running towards him at the edge of the forest with his spear in hand. The assassins quickly realize that this is a rank 4 novice, and one of them is impressed by a player managing to level up in such a hostile place. In this case, the captain sees this as a great discovery and immediately orders his subordinates to eliminate him to count as a military achievement. Thus, the assassins start chasing the hero, who finds himself in a worse situation than before as the main group doesn't break their formation. The initial plan was to lure the enemy, and then Yuan would use his skill to repel them all, taking advantage of the gaps in the skill to finish them off. However, this team of invaders is very long, complicating things if the hero's friend cannot knock them down at once. If any survivor escapes, they can warn the others. Even so, the main group managed to come up with a solution to finish off all the invaders without needing to separate them. Thus, the protagonist fills himself with an electric energy, transmitting power along with an intimidating aura. And soon he charges at the bandits with his spear, thinking that he might need to shed some blood to attract them. This irritates some of the assassins and confuses others, bewildered by the novice's audacity to stop fleeing and face them head-on. A few seconds before the clash begins, an assassin questions where the novice is running to, asking if he is so scared that he has no idea what he's doing. With that, he orders the hero to get out of his way and slashes his arm with his weapon. Unexpectedly, the protagonist takes the hit without defending himself and continues running, thinking he is not close enough yet, leaving the bandit confused. Gradually, they all gather around Jiang, but they are still not close enough for his plan to work. In this case, he resumes advancing against the malefactors but passes by them, dodging all their attacks to draw them in. The invaders' group commander, in turn, questions what his subordinates are doing. He says they are all at level 5 and does not understand how a mere level 4 can dodge all their attacks. At that moment, one of the warriors, analyzing his watch panel, realizes something is wrong and reports to the captain. The initial detection time was too short to discover the attributes, but now he is testing with a better watch. Thus, he discovered that although he can't see overall attributes, he can still observe the boy's agility, which is about 30 points. This information left the group commander completely baffled by the improbability of something like this happening. Another bandit then says his colleague must be wrong because his level 5 agility is less than 20 points, making it impossible for a level 4 to surpass him. However, the group commander, trembling with fear, knows that it's very unlikely for a high-ranking watch to make a mistake. In this case, he thinks that if the group is chasing someone with such high agility, he's probably just pretending to be caught by them. Thus, the captain shouts to his subordinate, saying they were tricked and ordering them to get out of there as quickly as possible. The bandits understand the message, but it's too late since the hero has already deceived the entire group's formation. So, while they are preparing to run, suddenly a golden lightning appears in the sky, confirming that escape is no longer possible. This is because the martial artist Yuan is ready to strike them all with his newly acquired special ability. This is the Earthquake ability, which when hitting the ground, lifts all the assassins, leaving them in a state of vulnerability. Then the hero begins to envelop himself again in his electric aura while thanking his old friend for a job well done. He then asks that from here on, everything be left for him to resolve and starts his offensive, accurately firing wild boar spines. Thus, they fall to the ground one by one, killed by the protagonist's throwing ability, resolving everything at once as planned. Yuan, in turn, is impressed by his friend, having killed 9 level 5s in an instant and questions what kind of wicked being he is. The system informs that the hero killed 5 level 5 invaders, and upon looting them, he gained 2,000 experience points, reaching the highest level in the beginner zone. With that, Jang finally reaches level 5 and realizes that for all higher explorer levels, the experience that can be looted will be doubled. In view of the group leader's achievement, Ai praises him, impressed, saying it was the first time she witnessed something like that, and Yuan asks if they will evolve more. So to avoid any misunderstanding, Jang explains that he left 4 weakened warriors for his group mates to finish off and loot their experience. Additionally, he comments that earlier, to improve the group's combat power, he killed monsters first to level up, but now he has killed enough. With that, he affirms that after everyone gains enough points, they will head to the finish line, and Yuan and Ai get excited as it's their turn to evolve. While walking through the forest looking for prey, the hero asks his colleagues to keep an eye out because there are many monsters up to the finish line. However, it's said that the closer they get to the end, the scarier the monsters become, and there might also be a boss in the beginner area. At that moment, a roar shakes the surroundings of the forest, leaving the group quite scared. Unexpectedly, from the place where the noise came, 2 human-faced monsters are found dead with their bodies ripped and mutilated. The girl recognizes the corpses of the human-faced beasts, and Yuan questions what kind of being is capable of doing this to mutants of this level. Curious about the reason, the hero activates his Phantom Eye concentration ability. He then observes a certain golden light he had seen before, realizing that some creature of this color killed the 2 monsters. Ai is intrigued by this, but at that exact moment, the creature they were talking about appears, launching an energy blast. Yuan still doesn't notice the attack coming from behind him and continues to question, quite afraid about what these corpses went through. The energy blast finally arrives, hitting both the girl and the hero's childhood friend. After hitting the 2 group members, the creature heads towards the protagonist without wasting time, leaving him scared. Recovering from the attack, Yuan shouts to Jang to be careful because, considering the attack they suffered, the animal is capable of causing instant death. Meanwhile, the animal's attack hits the hero, who does nothing to defend himself, leaving the group confused. However, due to his extremely high level for the beginner zone, the protagonist inevitably manages to capture the creature with ease. With that, the monster proves to be just a simple hamster, and Yuan and Ai are impressed by the hero's dexterity in catching such a fast animal. However, the protagonist asserts that for him, this animal is not fast at all, calling it merely a fat rat. In response, the hamster becomes irritated for being called slow and claims it was only caught because it was careless. Given the animal's confidence, Jang unexpectedly releases it to give it another chance to prove its worth. Having gained another chance, the hamster again envelops itself in its golden energy aura and gathers speed with a spin, heading towards the novice to attack him. Seeing this, the hero's childhood friend asks why he is letting the monster go and reminds him that a single bite was enough to kill 2 human mutants. To demonstrate his current strength, the protagonist catches the hamster again with even more ease than the first time. He then throws the animal to the ground, saying it is too slow for him. To illustrate, Zhang starts tossing the hamster from one hand to the other, not giving it any time to react and escape. Thus, the main group is left wondering how the boy became so fast and incredible. At this moment, the hero was strong enough to make a monster responsible for killing 2 human mutants surrender. With the defeated animal in his hand, Zhang comments that it seems the hamster will not run away anymore, and Yuan is shocked, questioning the incredible feat of the boy. The hero asserts that he doesn't know if this rat can be tamed and used as a combat force, but it's still a good deal to collect the human-faced beast's corpses. He also mentions that the other group members are almost at level 4 and urges them to hurry and collect the corpses, and then find other monsters. Ai looks at the hamster, saying it is very cute, and Yuan once again feels disappointed, realizing that his martial arts are nothing special. Elsewhere in the forest, a man walks nonchalantly, happy to finally reach the end of the beginner judgment zone. In front of the man is the mission's finish line, the incredible city of Shenzhou. Wasting no time, he begins climbing the immense palace's stairs, gradually reaching the main gate. With that, the gates open and soldiers emerge, congratulating the explorer for passing the test and informing him they are the guides for newcomers. Their leader, Xia Tao, welcomes the boy with the official status as a Phantom Star explorer. However, he comments, placing his right hand on the explorer's shoulder, that unfortunately, someone has already claimed the first place. He also says that ranking is not important, and that it's already great for a newcomer to pass the judgment. In response, the explorer understands he is not the first to arrive, but shows his inventory to illustrate that his level is higher. Thus, the soldier's spirits rise as the ranking is based on points, and with so many monster corpses, many exchanges can be made. To clear his doubt, Xia Tao asks how the explorer managed to kill so many monsters, and he just laughs, saying it's nonsense. He states that he is the second young master of the Huang family, and will soon become a high-ranking member of the Manhwa Guild. He mentions that he received special training before coming to Phantom Star. In this case, the soldier realizes which family the boy belongs to, being Suanwu one of Shenzhou's top 10 guilds. Warrior Xia Tao congratulates the boy, saying that with this amount of points, he is one of the best in the city. However, Huanwei boasts about his achievements, not taking the compliment seriously. As for him, taking first place in the judgment is just the first step of his dreams. With a malicious aura, he warns that from now on, as long as more time is given, the entire Phantom Star will belong to him. Meanwhile, deep in the beginner area, the heroes walk in search of prey for the level 3 group members. As they walk, Jiang comments that everything feels strange as they haven't encountered any monsters for some time. He hypothesizes that the monsters might have been scared away by the presence of the hamster, who is quite popular with Ai. Suddenly, a roar is heard deep in the forest, scaring the whole team. Quickly, powerful and sharp claws are seen and more enemies appear. In an instant, a whole pack of shadowless wolves emerges, encircling the heroes' group completely. Among them, one monster stands out with its powerful presence and aura imbued in its claws. This is the boss of the novice area, the Shadowless Wolf King, ready to end all the humans in front of it. The hero realizes that the reason they hadn't encountered any monsters was that they were unknowingly entering the boss's territory. With the pack leader organizing the group, the explorers are quickly surrounded by the wild wolves. Yuan, very scared, says he heard that the Wolf King is a strong creature that has never been killed in the beginner's zone, indicating certain death for anyone who encounters it. The protagonist holds his weapon, trembling, wondering what to do as he could escape alone, but the others could not. Seeing this, the only choice they have is to fight to the death. Jiang tells the two explorers that fleeing is out of the question. With no other options, they decide to work together to kill the Wolf King. Taking the lead in the battle, the hero charges at the boss with his weapon, and Yuan uses his earthquake ability to distract the others. Jiang continues running without looking back while his childhood friend leaps into the air and lands, causing the ground to shake and break everything around. Ai is also determined to help and adds the poison factor to the protagonist's weapon. He now asks to be assisted only, as using all his abilities simultaneously, he throws the spear at the boss. Giving it his all, our hero aims to finish the battle against the beginner's zone boss with just one blow. However, unexpectedly, the spear merely bounces off the animal's tough skin, leaving all group members desperate. In response, the tutorial boss roars, signaling the moment for their counterattack, and all the wolves charge. Even though they are lower-level monsters being commanded by a higher mind, they cause damage to Ai and Yuan, who asks if there's another way. In such a conflicting situation, the hero knows that the Wolf King's defense is very strong, and that he can't kill all the wolves surrounding him. Amidst the noise and abrupt movement of his owner, the hamster wakes up from its confused sleep. Looking around and analyzing the situation, it understands what's happening and blames the wolves for disturbing its peace. While the protagonist fights with all of his might against the wolf pack, the hamster activates its ability to the maximum. It jumps from the hero's hood, rushing through the air, creating wind currents as it passes, and unexpectedly pierces the Wolf King's chest with ease. Jiang can't hide his surprise that the little rat managed to bite through the tough skin of the wolf. To clear his doubts, he activates his Phantom Eye concentration ability and sees the size of the wound, realizing that the situation could change if they attack there. From the start, the throw didn't work due to the high defense of the boss. However, with an exposed wound like this, it's possible to cause damage. With that, Jiang launches another attack at the wolf, but this time with one of the wild boar spines he has kept. The projectile is fired along with electrical energy and inevitably injures the boss when it hits the exposed wound directly. With this, the hero understands that his attacks are working, realizing that he will be able to continue using his phantom eyes to focus on attacking the wound. At that moment, the projectile shines with a strong light, and suddenly, the extremely low probability 200 times critical hit is triggered. The other group members don't understand what is happening, especially Yuan, who witnessed only one strike. Not only were the group members impressed, but also the hero himself, who now receives a congratulatory message from the system for defeating the novice boss. Despite having planned to prolong the fight, he ended up luckily triggering a 200 times critical hit, finishing the monster without problems. He realizes that since he changed professions, he hadn't had a critical hit, making this a normal occurrence now. With their master lost, the wolf pack starts to disperse, wanting to flee as quickly as possible. To prevent this, the protagonist asks if his colleagues can still fight, to which they respond affirmatively. In this case, Jiang charges forward and explains that these wolves, without the king's command, are nothing more than simple lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Yuan and Ai begin to think about everything these wolves made them suffer and become determined not to let them escape alive. Without wasting time, all the explorers engage in battle, but now turning the tide and exterminating all the wolves. Both Yuan and Ai can now participate more in the battle, taking down the monsters without needing help. After a few minutes of fighting, the conflict finally ends with Jiang's group achieving a unilateral victory. Unexpectedly, these novices not only survived but leveled up and defeated the beginner area boss, achieving an incredible feat. Once again, the protagonist explains that he left some of the wolves weakened for his colleagues to kill, and Yuan asks his friend what comes next. Without further ado, now that all the explorers have enough experience, the next step is to walk to the finish line. With a brief time skip, the heroes finally reach the territory of Shenzhou City on Phantom Star, the largest activity base for the country's people. Despite being submissive for a long time, the hamster jumps out of the protagonist's hood and starts to flee, worrying Ai. In response, Jiang assures her that it's fine because he never wanted to restrict the animal's freedom, especially one that helped so much in the final battle. A little further into the city, the group finally arrives at the final reception hall of the beginner's judgment. The guide, Xiaotao, congratulates them for passing the judgment, and Jiang asks to see the ranking of the newcomers who passed the test, which is accepted without problems. At that moment, the young man from a rich family appears with a malicious smile, saying he didn't expect the maid working for his family to participate. He promptly offers to show the ranking to Jiang, and the hero also thinks he didn't expect to see Huang Wei there so soon. Proudly, the rich boy looks at the ranking, claims to be first, and mocks that the boys also made it, but from the bottom up. Other bullies begin to echo his sentiment, calling the hero group losers and questioning how they dared to ask about positions. In his mind, the hero remembers that his sister worked in the Huang household to save money for him to come to Phantom Star. Despite working, the boy often harassed his sister. Additionally, he used his brother's illness to humiliate him. In view of this, Yuan steps forward in the argument, telling the boy to shut up, but he is stopped by the protagonist, who says it's okay. He apologizes to everyone present and informs them that the rankings will be reorganized soon, with his group taking over the top 3. For a few seconds, silence takes over the hall, but is quickly broken by the laughter of the bullies, who mock this optimistic thought. In this case, Jiang tells his colleagues that they will no longer pretend, and Ai agrees along with Yuan, who, when activating his watch, says he is eager. Without further ado, the main group decides to show what they came for, reorganizing the rankings in front of the huge screen by displaying their inventories. In view of this, the bullies are left open-mouthed, not understanding what is happening, as the monster corpses are in the possession of only 3 explorers. Huang is even more shocked to realize that, besides human-faced beasts, there are also shadowless wolves in their inventory. However, when faced with the shadowless Wolf King, the boy believes it to be a lie and asks how a mere group of losers managed to kill the boss. The hero, in turn, doesn't bother to explain, saying that the ranking will tell them what is true and what is false. Then, unexpectedly, a notification appears, and the ranking indeed begins to be updated, confirming that the group's points are real. Therefore, inevitably, that arrogant rich boy faces the fact that the group he considered losers managed to take the top 3 spots. That is not all they have, and the young man wants to know if they could earn points by making invaders cease to live. The knight recognizes that those are the wristwatches of the invaders who came from country L. Another comedian says that now they have exposed themselves, they are liars, as rookies couldn't handle all those invaders. He asks the crowd if any of them have ever encountered invaders, and they say it has never happened. Faced with this, he wants the leader to disqualify the talented ones, as they are certainly a bunch of liars. He hears the clamor of the jealous ones with a bitter hesitation, as they ask for the liars to be punished. Approaching the rebels, a person says that there are indeed invaders, and they couldn't inform all of them in time. He was surprised when he found out, but his superiors told him to praise Jiang Kai and his friends. This is Lu Jun, vice commander of the military division. This made the envious ones realize what's happening. That group is not lying about the invaders. As a reward for what they did, the military division will increase their reward in equipment. The 2nd and 3rd places will receive A-class equipment, and Jiang Kai, who came in first, will receive an S-class reward. Hearing this news, he and his friends are very happy. This left the envious ones perplexed, as these rookies would now have good equipment right from the start. Breaking the 4th wall, he will explain how the equipment levels work. They are ranked from F to S in the Devil's Star, with F being the worst quality and has the best of the best. B and C quality equipment are already very good, but A and S class are what every walker desires to have one day. The jealous one cannot accept that they started with this advantage. Because of them, he lost his top spot and ended up in 4th place. He argues that something wrong must have happened and that Jiang comes from a poor family, so it's impossible that he was better than him. Jiang told him to calm down because the military approved the facts, and if he kept insulting his family, things would get crazy. But the jealous one is furious and prepares to attack Jiang, saying they are just poor peasants. His sister is his servant, his brother is sick, and he is a nobody who got beaten up every day. He shouldn't even dare to question what he says. That deeply angered Jiang. Besides, his sister was still a servant at his house, and he promises to go after her any day now. He tried to attack Jiang, but Jiang reacted much faster. So fast that the one who wanted to strike didn't even notice. What was now on the chest of the jealous one was a huge cut, and his blood spurted. Those who noticed the scene didn't understand either. It was too fast. Even Jiang's friends didn't expect this reaction. He had really attacked that fool. Meanwhile, the vice commander of the military division asked if he had really attacked Huang Wei, the jealous one. One of the young men says that Huang comes from a family that manages one of the top 10 guilds in the country, and even so, Jiang attacked him. While trying to recover, Huang asks if Jiang knows the consequences of that action. But Jiang says that scum like him, who threatens his family, deserves to suffer this and he doesn't care who he is. Huang realizes that his fear is leading nowhere. The world is a hell now and family is all he has, so anyone who threatens his family has to know what they are doing. As he approaches the boy, whose pants must be quite heavy now, no one does anything. Jiang says that he will not hesitate to fight to defend his own, no matter who offends or endangers them, being ready even to send them straight to the other world, turning them into a memory. Huang screams in terror and cries like a baby. Jiang had ended that fool's life, and the system says he can steal 6 experience points. He didn't expect it to be such a small value and wonders if every big and talented family is this poor. What makes things less worse is that a death in the Devil's Star is not a death in real life, but there will certainly be repercussions. The commander realized that the boy is reckless, but he is indeed talented. His expectations about him were positively satisfied. Silencing everyone, he says that Jiang acted in self-defense and that for now, he didn't want anyone talking about this matter anymore. Now the 3 should follow him to receive their rewards. Jiang follows him, and his friends praise his attitude because he was very confident. Under the troll-light's glow, they gather with the vice commander. Apologizing for making them wait, he said that these are the equipment that the military had prepared to give them as gifts. As soon as his hands approach the box, it opens on its own, emitting a strong golden glow. The girl received the Jade of Vitality, an item that every healer hopes to obtain someday. Indeed, it increases 15 points in mentality and physique, as well as enhancing the effectiveness of healing and potion production. The boy, on the other hand, received armor as an A-class piece of equipment. The Blackstone Rhino armor increases defense and strength by 16 points and reduces damage taken by 16%. Now only Kai has to open his box to see what he will receive. His eyes shine as he sees the item he received. The system notifies that an evaluation of the item is required. It's a set of finely detailed daggers. The vice commander didn't expect the item to require an evaluation card, and his colleague says that if it needs that, it must be a very good item. And indeed, equipment of superior quality requires these cards. Luckily, he has some there and can give one to the boy. The card is assimilated by the item. They grant 9 points in strength, piercing, and agility, and as a unique effect, for each tribulation consumed, the critical chance increases to a maximum of 90%. The vice commander thinks the item won't be useful to the rookie, as they tend to deal little damage and his critical would not be that high. Hearing this, his colleagues say it's unfair for him as he has dedicated himself so much, and they ask if he could receive another item. It would be troublesome, but he could try. However, Kai refuses. Contrary to what they think, he liked the item he received. That is certainly the best equipment he could have gotten. His critical hit chance is much higher than normal people's, 200 times greater. But his frequency of hitting criticals is very low, much lower than other people's. However, those blades increase the frequency of critical damage by 10%, reaching up to 90%. One could even say it is the perfect artifact for risk takers. If Kai doesn't want to exchange the item, he won't do anything about it, and he said that having completed the tutorial, they could return to Earth. Approaching Kai, he said that someone might be looking for him soon. On his way home, he should be cautious. Finally, after all that, they return to the city. Kai didn't expect to pass the rookie test so easily and can't wait to tell his siblings everything. As he approaches his house, he comes across something strange. In front of his house, there are several luxury cars, and he wonders if any of the neighbors have suddenly gotten rich. Grabbing his cell phone for a photo, he decides not to dwell on it. Arriving at his home, he announces his arrival. He has finally arrived and wants to tell his family how his exam went. But what stands before him is a man sitting on his couch. There are several strange men in his house, and he doesn't know any of them. And they know that the young man did well in his rookie evaluation. That is Huang Da, the brother of the envious brat who was struck down, and he wants to know what he is doing in his house. As he spoke, a blow lands on the back of his head. The house door closes behind him. Now he is being restrained by 2 men. He said that his younger brother needs psychological help after what happened, and that his family is the one oppressing others, not the other way around. Even if he keeps his brother offline for a month, he could keep Kai offline forever. His baton is almost hitting the boy's head. Being restrained, there isn't much he can do to defend himself. However, the door is kicked open and hits the two thugs on the head. It flies with such force that even the fool with the baton falls to the ground. Trying to recover, he wants to know who is interrupting them. The man says he told him to warn Kai to be cautious when returning to his home. Reprimanding the boy, he asks why he didn't take this advice seriously. The woman who came with him presents a document and orders them not to move, as it is a military matter. That old man is Wei, the supreme commander of the city's military force, and the fools don't know why they are there. They are there for Kai, and they have just offended someone they should never have offended in any way. Surprised by this, the fool wants to know what the boy's identity is and if he comes from some influential place. Kai slowly gets up after having been restrained. He also can't believe that the commander of the military force is there in his house and that he came just to see him. Due to their blunder, the fools are detained and sent to the police station. The boy thanks Commander Wei for saving him, but he wants to know why he was there. He asked the boy not to be nervous, as he came because he and his team were exceptional during the test. After he went offline, his friends were invited to join the military, and they are here to extend the same invitation to him. The old man sighs, exhaling smoke from his cigarette banned in 89 countries. Now the boy has a new profession. The one asks if Kai understands what the emergence of a new profession means. There are already many, and every 20 levels, explorers can change their profession, which alters their attributes. Some get stronger, others weaker. Most of them are useless, and the military is always on the lookout for those with combat power, and his, as it seems, has great potential. The woman takes a few steps in his direction. She wants to know if he is interested in joining the military and having a new career. However, they are not here to pressure him, and they already know about his family situation, as they have done some research. But if he joins them, they will cover all the expenses for his brother's treatment and guarantee his family's safety. The offer is very good, making him thoughtful. As they leave, they tell him to think it over. If he agrees, he should contact them tomorrow. He only needs to talk to the woman. He watches them as they leave. Apologizing, he says he refuses to join them. This made the two very surprised by the boy's decision. He knows it's good to join them, especially if he has a profession with combat potential. But he has something new, and he asked them to remember when the drunkard profession appeared and the military investigated it. With their assistance, the drunkard was very successful. But as soon as they found out that an alcoholic was not useful, he was abandoned by the military and is now in a deplorable state. He was careless but will move out of the influence area of that family, because they are more accustomed to taking care of their own lives rather than depending on the protection of others. The woman says that's not the issue and humanity needs help, and his profession could contribute to that. But the boy says he's not that noble and only wants to ensure his own family's safety. While the woman still tries to convince him, the old man says he understands what the boy means. You can't change an entire life in just a few days, and he says the boy's brother doesn't have much time left. Besides, just fighting is not interesting in the world as it is now. And he decides to make a bet with him. For a month, it would protect him, and in that month, he has to make enough money to pay for his brother's surgery. If he couldn't, the army would pay, but he would have to enlist. The boy remains silent, thinking about the proposal. Soon a discreet smile appears on his face. He agrees to the bet and promises to honor the result if he doesn't win. With the deadline approaching, he needs to return to Ghost Star soon to earn money. As he leaves, he left a message for his brother saying he was returning to Ghost Star. He can no longer live in that neighborhood. He needs to move out to ensure his family's safety. Things won't be easy now, and he needs to come back with enough money. Finally, he is in Ghost Star once again. With new clothes and a registration, he can finally make money by hunting monsters. However, he needs to register with a guild before anything else. Beginners need to do this because they are easily defeated by monsters on their own and should only hunt in groups. A guild is nothing more than a team, and it helps in the development of novices. And he can't wait to see which guilds he can join. The woman who receives him assumes he is Jiang Kai, and says that at the moment he cannot join any guild. Because he offended the Huang family, he is blacklisted by all of them. So he will have to do things on his own from now on. Still in the safe zone, there are many people in the selection area. Without a guild, he wonders if his adventure will end before it even begins. Someone asks him if he is unsure where to find the monsters. She reads other people's fortunes and can tell the best place to hunt for just 100 coins. This is Hu Yan, level 29. Even so, he looks at her incredulously. Turning away, he apologizes because he is an atheist. She insists so much that she even offers him a free reading. Knowing it wouldn't cost him anything, he said it's not too late for him to become superstitious. Trying not to think about it, the girl wants to see it as a test. A board starts glowing with a golden light. She chants her incantations and keywords. Reading his fortune, she says he is in crisis at the moment, and to get out of it, she suggests he take action. He should go to the Valley of Kings. Indeed, he is being watched, and in the safe zone, he cannot be targeted by his pursuers. The first hunting spot for rookies is the Ashen Plains, but there's probably an assassin already waiting for him there. If he goes to Victory Peak, he might die, as only players above level 15 go there. The Valley of Kings is for players above level 10, so it's a chance he can manage. There shouldn't be any traps for him there, and if he has to do everything alone, so be it. Following his path, he thanked the fortune teller for her advice. But she can't understand why he's going alone, as she believed her prediction was for him to go in a group. Going alone would be suicide. Avoiding thinking about it, she hopes he comes back alive and doesn't give her a negative review. He is already arriving at the Valley of Kings. Being there, he wants to know if the monsters in the place are really strong. A loud roar is heard, and he observes the movement in the leaves. A huge mouthful of teeth had made that sound. The enormous gorilla strikes those people as if they were insects. They try to withstand its fury. It's a level 11 monster, a giant black gorilla, and those are level 10 players who believe they can defeat it. They just need to keep trying hard. The battle between them continues violently. Not far away, Kai is watching everything from hiding. Both the players and the monsters are very strong, and he wonders if he could fight one if he encountered it. While thinking, a distinct smell reaches his nose. Nearby, several gorillas have found him. He jumps away. It wasn't a coincidence. On his wrist, the system warns him of the imminent danger. The weakest of those gorillas is level 12. Meanwhile, that group of explorers struggled to take down a single level 11 gorilla. They managed to do it without any casualties, and one of them even thinks of telling this story. The captain says they should do just that, but behind them, the action begins. All of them turn around to see what's happening. They finally notice the several gorillas chasing a single explorer. Kai thinks he must have accidentally entered their territory. Seeing the scene, they wonder if they should help that poor soul. But the captain says that regardless of how it happened, if they try to intervene, they might end up dead. It's better for them to hurry and flee from there quickly. While they watch, the first level 12 gorilla is taken down. Those blades were really useful for Kai. With just 5 attacks, he managed to land an absurd critical hit. They watch in disbelief at how easily the boy took down a gorilla stronger than the one they defeated. Kai escapes from the remaining gorillas, but he's confident he can take them down. Then he prepares to finish off another one. His devastating attack heads toward the monsters. Another gorilla becomes history, and only one is left. This time he achieved a critical hit with just a single strike. Stating that yet another gorilla was defeated, the others are even more stunned by it all. Now Kai just has to settle the score with the last one. Seeing that the last one is also the strongest, the captain of the other team doesn't think it will be defeated easily. Kai only has 3 daggers left and is at the limit of his physical stamina. He needs to believe that his critical chance will rise before the beast catches him. Then he prepares to attack it. Throwing the 3 daggers, his bet is that he will take it down. They fly towards the furious gorilla. It roars in pain as the blades hit it. Kai celebrates. That attack with the last 3 blades really managed a critical hit. The gorilla's body falls to the ground, inert and lifeless. Achieving that would be difficult even for a larger group than theirs, and the boy did it all alone and without help. Even so, Kai didn't expect it to be so challenging. With 3 corpse cards, he now feels more confident that he can handle things on his own. So he continued his journey to carry on with his hunt. Seeing that he's gone, the captain of the other team regrets not introducing himself to him earlier. He's lamenting and thinks it was one of his companions who stopped him from speaking to him. But the truth is, he didn't even move. In the Great Plains, some people are gathered. They didn't expect to see all those people gathered there. It's the Huang family's Falcon squad that is there. All of them are much stronger than rookies, as they are at level 20, and they are waiting for Jiang Kai to appear. They pressure a woman to say where she last saw him. They are there to avenge the Huang family, which was offended by the trash that is Jiang Kai. The woman says that the boy went to the Valley of Kings and could be found there. Throwing her to the ground, they say that if she is lying, they will come back to make her pay. That is the best group of the Huang family for players up to level 20. Kai is in serious trouble. But the girl says that for those who are rude, fortune tellers never tell the truth, and she deliberately read their fortune, and this visit of theirs to Kai will not be unexpected. In fact, they will all meet their respective deaths because of this nonsense. After a day of hunting, Kai is already at level 6. Rumors say that the body of a gorilla is worth a lot of money, as it's very difficult to obtain. As long as he continues like this, his brother's medical expenses won't be an issue. While he is distracted, a person asks if he would like to join them for a hunt. There's a considerable number of hunters there. In total, there are 3 teams altogether. If he joins them, he will earn the rewards the gorillas drop. Given this, they want to know if he is interested in joining. Kai says that he doesn't have a hunting team yet, and that he is doing it alone. Even so, the young man insists, as they only need one more person. The Valley of Kings is full of peaks. At the top of one, there is a group of people gathered. They show him that below there is an elite treasure chest that they have been guarding. Since elite gorillas are very strong, they need him to distract one of them. He would serve as bait for one of the gorillas, while the other 3 teams would deal with the remaining gorillas, and on his return, he could get his share of the reward. That elite chest has more items than those found in monsters. Kai needs to get one of those. And these people want him to distract one on his own. Given this, it's clear they don't expect him to return alive. Since he's already in this situation, he can't abandon it and decides to join them. So they begin the attack, with each of them knowing their part in the plan. The gorillas notice the hunters approach. Now their leader says the job has begun. Kai needs to distract one of them. There he is, ready to do his part of the plan. The first gorilla is struck by him. Thus, he got its attention and led it far from the others. Their leader is pleased that Kai really did his part. Soon they would have one less team to divide the rewards, and the others would have to fight to the death to obtain them. The monkey's attacks are fierce. Kai knows that running away like this is very risky. The elite gorilla is much stronger than the normal ones. A common explorer would have already been wiped out. But he is not a common explorer. With that, he throws his daggers at the beast. All of them hit the monster accurately. It stumbles for a few moments. Finally, the beast falls to the ground, lifeless. Not even level 15 elite gorilla is a match for K's critical damage. Now it's his turn to use those explorers to get the treasure chest. They put in a lot of effort but seem to be no match for the elite gorillas. Their leader does his best to keep them following the strategy. Kai just watches while he is hit by one of the giant gorillas. While they fight fiercely, he enters the cave. He only needs to walk a little to find what he's looking for. In fact, there is a treasure chest there, and entering the cave was easier than he thought. It only took him getting rid of a single elite gorilla to get there. Before touching the chest, a roar echoed in the cave and saliva dripped on his shoulder. Another gorilla was inside, guarding the chest. It descends in rage and almost hits Kai. This is a level 20 elite gorilla. It seems the others didn't know about its existence. Unlike the others, this one is truly dangerous. To Kai's surprise, it even blocks the cave's exit with its body. There is no other way out. They have to fight each other. His daggers hit it, but they don't pierce its hide. Not even hitting its eyes cause any damage. It has 23 points of defense, and K's current attack cannot surpass this stat. With 9 points of dagger penetration, his attacks are useless. As he thinks the giant gorilla prepares to attack, Kai is hit, and he smashes into the cave rocks with his body. The boy is beaten and tries to understand what just happened. The difference between them is too great, but he is determined not to die in that place. Dying in that dimension would prevent him from accessing it for a month. If that happens, he will inevitably lose his bet with the army commander. This would result in him having to completely depend on the military. Slowly, he starts losing his senses. In his mind, a voice tells him to wake up. This person is running. He is in someone's arms without knowing what happened. His brother is carrying him, hoping that he doesn't fall asleep and stays awake. Amidst the ruins of the city, he does everything he can to save his younger brother, trying to escape with the boy from the battlefield that the city had become 10 years ago. Faced with this, he cannot afford to give up in this way. His brother had done everything possible to save him and his sister when it all happened. Bringing one of his daggers to his hand, he won't surrender yet. The energy from them flows through his body. Kai won't give up on fighting. The giant gorilla had swallowed him. As soon as it finishes swallowing, it shows a satisfied expression. However, it doesn't take long for it to experience the worst pain it has ever felt. Its head explodes into several small pieces. Now its lifeless body falls to the ground. Kai had defeated it. Luckily, the defense inside its mouth wasn't as high as the one on the outside. It was like breaking through thick skin to strike, as happened with the Wolf King. Now the elite chest can finally be accessed, but he is very weak. Even so, this item belongs to him now. After nearly a whole hour, the others outside finally managed to finish off the elite gorillas. They celebrate that the boy led one of them away and must be dead, so there is one less person to divide the loot. Finally, they enter the cave to collect the treasure chest. The scene, however, is not what they wanted to see. There is nothing left inside that they can collect. The leader begins to shout desperately because the elite chest was supposed to be here in the cave. One of them says that he saw the boy entering the cave during the battle. He didn't say anything before because he thought he was losing his mind, as it wasn't possible for him to have survived. Then they start complaining to the captain because they have been at it for days and some of them have overdue salaries. But all he can think about is that they were tricked by that boy. In another part of the valley, he rests. Kai imagines he must have gotten rid of those guys and takes a look at the system screen. He still hadn't opened the treasure chest. His eyes begin to shine with everything he had obtained. The chest is filled with precious and expensive items. There are many minerals, and there is equipment too. It was worth much more than monster corpses, and he would make a fortune with it. However, something caught his attention. There is another piece of equipment inside. Then he puts the gloves on his hands. There is a fire emblem on each one. Even so, he doesn't know what kind of equipment it is, whether it favors attack or defense. But wearing the gloves, he began to feel lighter and stronger. Maybe his agility and strength have increased. With this new sensation, he decides to try attacking to see the changes. The daggers fly through the air as soon as they are launched. Mid-flight, flames form around them. This is certainly an effect of the item, making those flames appear. In Ghost Star, there are various types of flames and some are deadlier than others. Ordinary flames are almost useless in battle and are only used for cooking and making campfires. Since these flames were ordinary, maybe his gloves are meant to be used for cooking. As he thinks, a loud sound comes from the forest, like the roar of a beast. A gorilla's hand slams into the ground with force. Those are 4 elite elemental gorillas. Kai doesn't know if one of them might have been hit by the attack he launched while testing the new gloves. Even one of those gorillas is a massive challenge, and now there are 4 in front of him. All he can do is try to attack the inside of their mouths as he did with the other one. Clever, the gorilla closes its mouth to prevent the daggers from entering. The system categorically states that he cannot penetrate the defense and that his applied damage was 0. Kai was definitely not in a good situation because of this. But he noticed that the gorillas knew they needed to close their mouths to protect themselves. Kai flees from the beasts, and in his current state, even if he hits the inside of their mouths, he won't be able to handle all four of them. Maybe he will die here, but one of the gorillas is losing health due to the flames. It doesn't take long before all of them start losing health. Kai doesn't know how the flames spread among them. The health they are losing increases as time goes by. One of them is already completely engulfed in flames. With that, it lost 2,000 health points in a single hit. The fire spreads in a way the gorillas cannot control. The flames keep spreading, and the remaining gorillas can only watch. Kai looks at the scene and cannot understand how the fire grew so much. A small ember heads toward one of them. It lands on the fur of its chest. The gorilla removes it with one of its hands. Everything happened too fast, and now the three gorillas are burning. However, Kai still doesn't understand why the giant beasts are catching fire without any apparent cause. The flames dissipate, revealing only the bodies of the four terrifying beasts. Meanwhile, he noticed that the fire's damage increased from 10 points to 2,000 in just a few seconds. The damage had multiplied by 200 times. Those gloves indeed cause fire to be produced. With his skill, the damage is multiplied by 200, and it spreads between monsters. Ordinary flames don't deal much damage, but if he doesn't have fire resistance, it could be fatal. With these gloves, he can deal up to 2,000 points of damage per second, making them perfect for eliminating large groups of enemies. Thus, he no longer needs to worry about being unable to penetrate his target's defenses. That same night, the gorillas witnessed the worst day of their lives. Definitely, in their history, that was the darkest night, even though it was lit by abundant fire. No one had ever emerged who could burn them as if they were dry plants. The only thing they could do in the face of that inferno was run, while Kai walked through the valley without any fear. Within a radius of 10 miles, there was nothing another explorer could collect. At dawn on the second day, ashes were spread all over the valley. It had been extremely profitable for him. Hunting dozens of gorillas brought him up to level 7. Thanks to his gloves, there is nothing below level 20 that can withstand him in terms of area damage. Not to mention the 10 elite chests he acquired, plus the monster corpses he collected. Kai is going to make a lot of money with all of that. Looking up at the sky, he felt lonely. He misses when he used to play with his friends. Even though he doesn't know how they are now, he knows that in the army, they must be doing well. In the Valley of Kings, his friend is frustrated because someone had wiped out all the gorillas in the place. Meanwhile, his female friend misses Kay's help, as he used to help them find monsters and defeat them. A man addresses the recruits and asks them not to speak discouraging words. That is a dangerous area for rookies, which is why they didn't find anything, and even with Kai, it would still be risky. This is Lai, a level 38 explorer. All that was left for them to do was continue searching for a gorilla that was still around. Even so, they really miss Kai. 3 days have passed, and one of the explorers says that all he can find are normal gorillas. That is too easy for them, and Huang Wei asks them to focus on Kai, which was a waste of time and talent for them. But one of them says that things are what they are. The others turn to listen to what he just said. And a few days ago, they saw a person taking down 3 gorillas without difficulty. It was incredible to see. But the arrogant one says that for low-level explorers like them, that must indeed be impressive. So the young man doesn't bother responding anymore. With a picture of Kai, the arrogant one wants to know if they saw that person anywhere in the valley. They confirm that this is the person they saw taking down 3 gorillas alone. They say he is just a level 5 rookie, and that must be a lie. The fruit he was eating is thrown to the ground. Since they don't believe it, they will deal with him as soon as they find him, and they just found him leaving the Valley of Kings. This made the arrogant one happy, as Kai is nearby. Without wasting time, he began to move. It was time for them to complete their mission after several days of searching. Kai's group of admirers can only feel sorry for those clueless people. At the exit of the valley, there are several people gathered complaining that there are no more gorillas in the area. Some say a fire wiped them all out, and now they have to wait. It's not like a single person did all that. Kai is now at level 10 after defeating all the gorillas and managed to obtain 19 elite chests. From a distance, someone calls his name and orders him to stop walking. Kai turns around to see who called him. It's the group of fools that wants to finish him off. People know that this is the Huang family's Falcon Squad and wonder what Kai did to anger them. Looking at them, he asks if it was really Huang family that sent them. Drawing his sword, the arrogant one says that he must have forgotten whom he offended during the tutorial. Now all of them are here just to kill him. Kai prepares himself to avoid being attacked. However, he says he acted in self-defense and asks if they really want to keep doing this. They don't care about that, only about the money they'll get from him. Since that's the case, if they're doing it just for money, Kai won't show any mercy. Then his daggers begin to fly toward the fools. They dodge some of them, avoiding the damage. But to their displeasure, they are already burning a little, and they mock the minimal damage. The spectators can't believe ordinary fire is being used in battle and think it's only a matter of time before Kai loses. Provoking their curiosity, he asks what would happen if the fire started dealing more damage. It doesn't take long for the first one to begin losing 2,000 health points per second. Soon he's enveloped in flames in such a way that his body can hardly be seen. His companions panic, seeing that there's nothing they can do. He tries to get rid of it, but doesn't understand why that simple fire is draining so much life. The other two, who had small traces of fire, start to worry. Soon they join their team leader, becoming 2 human bonfires. The rest are lined up for the furnace and are desperate. Before they can react, they are engulfed by the insatiable flames. Their bodies begin to be consumed without them being able to do anything about it. The system notifies that Kai obliterated that team and as a result looted their experience. Those who witness everything can't believe their eyes. Since they were so dedicated to giving it to him, Kai will accept it gladly. He looks at the bodies on the ground of those who wanted to kill him. The bystanders can't believe a single person did that to an elite level 20 team. Faced with this, they just want to know more about the identity of this dangerous person. But watch if one of them can't fully view Kei's characteristics. Finally, they understand why they can't. Maybe he's a powerful fire mage who used items to prevent other players from reading his stats. Looking at his status window, Kai realized he leveled up 2 more times with that little skirmish. Talking to the system guide, he also wants to know why they can't read his attributes. His skill grants him many additional attributes, which prevents similar level players from being able to read him. If that's the case, it's not bad at all, because it keeps him from becoming a target for others. Arriving at the town store, he introduces himself to sell the items he possesses. The saleswoman barely pays attention since rarely does anyone show up there with anything good. Kai says he has a few items but wants to know how much they're worth. Judging by his poor appearance, she doesn't expect to find anything of value. That's when her eyes widen at everything she sees. In front of her are various gorilla cards, elite gorilla cards among others. And that wasn't all. There was more. There are still 19 elite chests he collected in the Valley of Kings. Presenting everything he has, he wants to know how much all of that is worth. The saleswoman doesn't know what to do with all that, as usually. Those who show up sell individual items, and this player looks like a wholesaler. She shakes her head to snap back to her senses. Now excited, she says she will calculate everything because she's the best salesperson there. This is going to be interesting, he says. On the calculator, the amount is really high. The body cards are worth 10,000 and the treasure chests, 170,000. Altogether, he has 180,000 coins in merchandise. Each of these coins is worth 10 in real-world currency, which totals 1,800,000, enough to take care of his brother's health. In this way, he had managed to win the bet with the army commander, and he doesn't need to join the military. As he walked, the fortune teller called out to him and was specific in saying that he had received the fortune reading for free. Catching her breath, she said she was right to have recommended that he go to the Valley of Kings and that it must have been very fruitful. Indeed, it was, so she asks him to do her a favor, and Kai listens sympathetically, preparing to speak to him. Kuyan says that her wish is to be part of his team and hopes to fight alongside him in the future. But he simply turns around saying goodbye, which leaves the girl irritated by his attitude. She mentions that the military often decides what is useful or not. Changing the subject, she asks if he wants her equipment since he likes getting things for free, as this might be her last time in the game. Then Kai asks if she's also very poor and she's given up on making money there. She wishes she hadn't, but there isn't a single team that wants someone who can only predict fortunes and nothing more. When the military said Feng Shui is a good profession, she chose it and later switched her profession to being a fortune teller. But upon switching, she got stuck. The army gave up on fortune tellers and consequently, no one else wanted them. Unable to join a team, she spends her days there, and if she returns to Earth, her life won't change much. In fact, she'll have to do hard labor and earn little as a salary. Kai says that's terrible, and his brother's health declined because of overworking, and a girl wouldn't be able to handle that. And indeed, she says she wouldn't. But since she has siblings depending on her, she can't give up now. This reminded him of his older brother. People are different, but the need is real. His brother must have gone through that too, seeing the game as a source of hope. But having to take care of his younger siblings, he was afraid of having no one to leave them with and shifted to heavy labor. As she was about to leave, the girl says that this time she really has to quit and won't be coming back to the game, and she said her farewell to Kai. However, he asked her to wait a little longer. He said he was leaving now but would be back, and if they met again, they would form a team. The fortune teller could hardly believe what she heard. She even trembled with emotion, incredulous at what he said. But Kai assured her that he definitely wasn't lying, and that if he was, may he never make money again. Knowing that this is something he cares about, she even laughed at the comparison. Before he could leave, she hugged him tightly, thanking him for the opportunity. He tries to push the girl away, making other players notice the scene. Arriving home, he shares the good news that his sister no longer needs to work. Gathered together, they can hardly believe what he told them. His sister's concern is whether the money is legitimate, and he said he earned everything in the game. So now she can go back to school and his brother can have the surgery tomorrow. Worried, his older brother says that it must have been very hard. But Kai says it's nothing compared to the effort his brother put in to raise 2 orphans. His brother did his part, and from now on, it's Kai's turn to take care of the family. Happy, they celebrate the start of this new chapter for the family. Kai drinks calmly but notices something. His phone is vibrating. Someone is calling. It's the commander, who says that he lost the bet and Kai is free now. But he will send someone to pick him up to show him something later, and Kai should remember to come. Outside the safe zone, the city is destroyed. This is the city where he lived as a child. Now it's in ruins. Finally, he meets the commander. Then he asks why he was brought there. While they spoke, a loud noise erupted and the building began to shake. Explosions echoed in the background on the horizon line. Practically beside them is a huge creature, the size of a small building. But there are also people fighting against it. That small group of 3 people isn't intimidated. Kai asks if those people are fighting the god beast. Every 20 levels, there is a waterish division among players. There are 6 divisions, and up to level 80, their abilities can only be used in the game. The players continue fighting the creature. This doesn't apply to the extraordinaries. Levels 81 to 120 mark a qualitative change in the player. From that point on, the power that could only be used within the game can also be used in the real world. Those players are truly powerful. There is no hesitation in their eyes, nor do they show any sign of struggling. The battle against the beast continues to progress. This is also the challenge in fighting the god beast, because this is the most effective way to fight it. Witnessing the battle, Kai contemplates the strength of those players. However, the commander says that it's just an ordinary god beast, and to take it down, they lost 2 transcendents. That statistic made Kai frightened by the reality. Humanity's situation is not good at all. He might not realize this because he lives in the safe zone, and the commander won't force him to join the army. Thunder and lightning tear through the sky of that desolate city. In fact, he even spoke to the Huang family, telling them not to bother the boy anymore. Hegan smiles as it's strange that he cares so much about him. However, it's because he always believes in his intuition. Kai is now pensive with everything he heard. The commander's intuition tells him that the young man will become a strong person. And since he only wants to protect his family, joining the army would mean going to battle and being far away from them. But every man has his share of responsibility for the future of his country, and someone has to stay behind and fight. It may soon be his turn to fall in battle, but as a citizen of Shenzhou, if he dies for his country or for that young man, he will do so with all his heart. He won't force the boy to join the army, but he hopes that in the future, if the city needs help, Kai can lend his aid if he's able, and that he will fight for Shenzhou. After resting a few days on Earth, he returned to Coast Star. Kai didn't expect the commander to have such high expectations for him. Now it's time for him to focus on himself and look for monsters that are challenging because gorillas no longer are. What appears on his watch is a ghostly banshee, which can kill in a single strike and terrify its victims. It doesn't take damage from attacks that come from a distance greater than 10 meters, and it's very lethal within that range for explorers. This makes him think for a moment. It's going to be harder than dealing with gorillas, so he needs to assemble a team. The fortune teller is taking a nap in the street. On the sign, it says she's waiting for the captain and doesn't want to be disturbed. Kai wakes her up and asks if she's been waiting there since the last time he logged into the game. She can only be happy because she knew he would come back, and Kai says he always keeps his promises. Looking at Kai, she says she found a companion who could be very useful to them. If he helps kill monsters, it would be great. She just hopes he's not a drunkard. Then Ruin introduces himself, and he's exactly what Kai didn't want, a drunkard. Hearing that, he tried to run away from the team with all his speed. Seeing this, the fortune teller realizes her captain is still a very pragmatic person. She does what she can to defend Ruin, saying that he is a good worker and very dedicated. The boy looks embarrassed, not knowing what to say. He can cook and give massages, and as long as he's allowed to be part of the team, he agrees not to take part in the profit share. That last sentence made Kai completely alert. He quickly raises one of his hands. Taking Ruin's hands, he said that he knew he had a lot of talent and couldn't wait to work together. And as his captain, he will take him to the place where they hunt banshees. Ruin asks if he is always like this, and the fortune teller says he is always like this. They are now in the Valley of Kings, where the elite banshee monster appears. A ghostly and terrifying hand opens a door. The level 20 banshee is there, ready to hunt players. From a distance, some people are watching her. Kai says she is strong, and once exposed, she will be killed immediately, so they should be cautious. Since they can only attack her up close, he reiterated that they should stay quiet and wait for the opportunity to get closer. Hearing a voice, he asks Hu Yan to stop talking, but she hadn't said anything at all. Once again, he asks for silence, and she says she hasn't spoken a word so far. Looking behind, he wants to know who's been talking all this time. It was the drunkard, sleeping and making a lot of noise in the place. In his dreams, he shouted that he was toasting to the captain. This made the banshee realize there were players there. She quickly began to approach their position. Close enough, she started releasing her terrifying scream. Panicked, he asks what Hu Yan did because the drunkard isn't helping to kill monsters now. Her scream is unleashed, and they are within the range of its effect. Kai is under the effect of the attack. The fortune teller is affected as well. Even the useless drunkard, still sleeping, is affected. They all have the fear status now. Incapacitated, they can't think of any way to deal with the situation. With nothing to do, the banshee approaches them dangerously. Still dreaming, the drunkard says he doesn't know how such a beautiful woman appeared and lunges at the monster. He ends up flying over her with such force that it looks like an attack. He says it was fate that brought them together, and now he will take care of her. Running his hands over her face, he comments that her skin is soft and radiant. The fear status disappears from them, and Kai wonders if Ruin is controlling her now. He's aware that her attack has a cooldown, so it's time to seize the opportunity to finish off the monster. He can afford to miss this chance. Unexpectedly, Ruin is immobilizing the monster, making it unable to dodge Kai's attack. And now he's getting ready to give her a big kiss. From now on, they'll be husband and wife. Before the worst could happen to the monster, she explodes. From the epicenter of the explosion, smoke rises into the sky. Ruin wakes up from his illusion and wonders where his beautiful and lovely wife went. Kai is satisfied with the outcome, and the fortune teller is happy that the captain can finish off an elite monster in seconds. But among them, there is someone sad. Ruin is not happy that his wife exploded right in front of him. She was the love of his life, and now he will never be able to love again. Kai asks if it's always like this, and the fortune teller says he's a drunkard and needs to drink, and in that state, he has terrible taste. She went to retrieve the monster's card, and Kai thinks about the effect of the banshee on the drunkard, who was within her range. Even so, he wasn't affected and even retaliated. This is definitely not something he expected to happen. The worst thing about drunkards is that they lose control in that state. However, this flaw seems to ignore the banshee's attack. If that's really the case, he needs to make the most of this opportunity. While he was thinking, the fortune teller returned with the chest. The drunkard is the ideal natural artifact to fight against that type of monster. His mischievous smile made the fortune teller wonder what reason brought him into being. In the forest, they came across another place where the banshees dwell. Another one lets out a terrifying scream. But now Kai knows how to fight these monsters. She looks at them, ready to attack. Like a Pokemon master, he releases his drunkard into the battle. The banshee screams uselessly as the drunkard is unaffected. To him, she must be thirsty for his chubby, adorable body. And he says he desires her just as much and can't wait for them to get married. This is his opportunity to attack the beast while she can't use her special move. The daggers make their deadly flight toward her. Once again, the drunkard fails to kiss his great love. A great explosion happens in front of him. The system notifies that Kai has eliminated another banshee. Ruin is slightly injured, not understanding where his love went. Enraged, he curses his companions for having blown up his woman once again. He ends up falling headfirst to the ground. However, the other two can't wait to get to the next banshee before Ruin sobers up. After 3 hours in that place, Ruin had already lost 11 wives. Time kept passing, and he had already lost 23 wives. The more time went by, the more wives the drunkard lost to explosions. In this way, they ended up collecting many items in chests. Thanks to Ruin, they managed to gather 35 treasure chests. And with all that experience, Kai gained 2 levels and is now at level 14. The only real cost was Ruin's emotional one, as he says his companions are 2 merciless beasts. But that's not all. They managed to collect 2 skill cards. The first one can make heavy rain occur if the user has a lot of mental strength. If the terrain is favorable, powerful users can create entire lakes this way. Since Yuyan is already at level 29 and has a lot of mental strength, he decides to give this card to her, which made her very happy. This is the second skill she has besides fortune reading, and now she doesn't feel completely useless anymore. Bowing before him, she says that he will forever be her brother, and Kay says she deserved the card. Annoyed by her gesture, he gave her a light tap on the head. The other skill is meant for a secret profession. It will make a skill appear that can only be used once, and then it will disappear. If that's the case, he would like to use the card right away. Since only a secret profession can use the card, he should try it anyway. Now he can use the pickpocket casino. Any player who looks at him for half an hour will lose 1,000 attributes, which will transfer to Kai. After the time is up, the attributes will return to their original owner. Kai asks if that's all, and the system says yes. He can't believe that something so good can only steal 1,000 points of an attribute from someone. From what he understands of its mechanics, it wouldn't be very useful, and Ruin finally wakes up from his drunken stupor. He doesn't know why he has such a terrible headache. The fortune teller asks if he remembers losing 35 wives last night. In his memory, and a few blurry images appear, and of flying into a woman. Remembering everything, his moral hangover begins and Ruin vomits. Crying, he apologizes to the captain, saying that he's only been holding him back, and if it's the case, he accepts being dismissed. But Kai hands him some clothes. He said that the true hero last night was Ruin, and that equipment belongs to him. If it weren't for him, Kai would have been killed by the Banshees, and Ruin is an important member of this team. Ruin refuses to accept the item, saying that being accepted into the team is more than enough for him. Kai says he would never treat his companions harshly, and he has an item for the fortune teller as well. This is something she didn't expect either. Now Kai seemed like a prince straight out of a romance. She looked at him with a sparkle in her eyes. The same was repeated by Ruin, who couldn't believe the captain's kindness. They bow, saying they will follow him forever, and Kai asks them not to do that kind of thing. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.